Ooh, this should be a fun video. So before I get into this, there's a couple of things I want to be crystal clear about. I'm aware that Dr. Peterson has gone through a fair few things in the last couple of months and years, both with his family and personally. And so I don't want to appear as if I'm having a go at him personally, so I want to be as objective as I can here. That being said, when I see him post this on Twitter, when I see obese people now, I always think serious and unfortunate physical illness brought on by food pyramid carbohydrate propagandists. When I see him post that, reflexively I want to tell him to shut the hell up because he doesn't know what on earth he is talking about. It's an unusual paradox where this is far too reductionist, blame carbohydrates, and on the other hand, it's not simplified enough because you're not going yet another level simpler, quantification. Or perhaps it's another layer of depth because you're adding another variable to the equation. Who knows? Depends on how you frame it, I guess. Now let me address a point here, because on the one hand we have a 60-year-old clinical psychologist, and on the other hand a talking cartoon character. So if you've clicked on this thinking, am I going to listen to a talking spoon give me dietary advice? You will if you stick around, but yes, the absurdity of the situation is not lost on me. So if you happen to be skeptical, the feeling is entirely justified. So I will do my best to address your concerns by way of common sense. Now, as far as Peterson is concerned, I'm not going to knock him for his T-Rex style of dieting, mind you. Hell, the South African in me actually finds that kind of based. Peterson has said, though, before on Rogan, that he doesn't think the literature on food is worth a damn. Hypothetically, though, let's say I agree, although the carbohydrate propagandist claim is complete shite, but I'll get to that in a bit. If we both disagree on the validity of the literature, our only source of authority on the matter becomes personal experience. And on this footing, I will win. Because what Jordan cynically leaves out in that nonsensical tweet of his is A, the quantity, and B, the type. Not to mention if Jordan, much like most fat asses these days, measured his beef diet quantities via a fucking KFC bucket, guess what? He would gain weight as well. Welcome to the law of thermodynamics, one which you cannot escape. I myself, I eat an ungodly amount of carbs and I'm lean as hell. Why? Well, aside from being blessed with genes of a Norse god, I also know my body pretty damn well, and having a grotesque amount of vanity sure doesn't hurt either. But look at bodybuilders, for example. They're shredded, and yes, I'm aware they do drugs, etc., but they've been doing drugs for decades, more so now than they did before, and they look worse. So the fact that they're walking chemical factories is not exactly linked to their conditioning, but they eat far more carbohydrates than the average person, and they're not obese. Why? Because they move, and they move heavy shit. Leanness is in the dieting. There's the damn problem of obesity in the modern day society. It's not some stupid carbohydrate boogeyman or conspiracy. It is because people are lazy bastards who are far too sedentary. Apply Occam's razor here, the simpler solution, often the best one. Don't lift the fork, you fat ass, lift your fat ass instead. Simple as that. I myself, I learn from books. If you want a really good in-depth guide into learning this kind of stuff, at least in a sort of semi-autist detail, go look up the book Brink's Bodybuilding Revealed, or if you want a TLDR short version of that, find Mike Mentz's Heavy Duty Nutrition. As a matter of fact, I'll link them down both in the description below. You can go check them out. Easy to read, no nonsense kind of stuff. They will serve you well. It's from them that I learned any feasibly consistent diet is going to be roughly half carbs and the rest will be an evenish split of fats and proteins. In fact, one of the first videos I did on this channel was sort of taking the piss out of Sargon because he was on his keto fetish at the time, and I made a short list of just common sense things anyone can follow. If you feel full, stop eating. Eat to live, not live to eat. Eat breakfast. You haven't consumed anything in several hours, so eat a slow release carb. It's called breakfast for a reason. Break the fast. If you can eat something raw, eat it raw, as close to the state of Mother Nature as you can. Avoid prepackaged foods. If you need a search engine to tell you what the hell the ingredients are, don't eat it. In fact, the less ingredients any food has, the better it is for you. Don't eat about 3 or 4 hours roughly before you sleep. Get all of your carbs in say, the first 3/4 of the day. Unless you want to gain muscle, in which case eat a bit of protein before you sleep. And lastly, look at a piece of food and ask yourself honestly, is this good for me? If the answer is no, don't eat it. You don't need a PhD in nutrition to tell you a carrot is better for you than a donut. And that's it. If you can follow that, you will be in decent shape for the rest of your life. I can promise you that. Dieting is not rocket science. Hell, I would say about 99% of it just comes down to your own personal willpower. Now, with all of that being said, what I described there is a generic formula. It's not set in stone because I've also heard some crazy freaking diets. For example, jiu-jitsu champ Mikey Musumeci. He claims to eat only pizza and pasta. He eats once a day at night and a pint of acai for dessert because he trains all damn day, which is just insane. No strength and conditioning coach would ever advocate for that kind of a diet. But his performance is great and he's happy, so more power to him. Or another one, Pavel Tsatsouline, Soviet strength coach. He himself eats 1 meal a day. A lot of steak is his meat of choice. No chicken because that's a weak bird according to him. His views on vegetables, very interesting, saying that what they do is induce hormesis, so building resistance to mild doses of poison. Very based. Or look at some of the old school strongmen, say George Hackenschmidt, who was an Estonian strongman, I believe, so part of the Russian Empire at the time. Very heavy plant-based diet, only a quarter of it was meat. Over 5 liters of milk a day though, so that explains his protein. This is 1900, mind you, so you know these people were all natural. Then you have, say, the Saxon trio, and their diet, holy hell. Understandably, many are skeptical because, my goodness, breakfast would be 8 eggs, porridge with cream, marmalade, honey, plenty of sugar tea. Dinner would be 3 pounds of meat, vegetables, sweet fruits, sweet cakes, pudding, cocoa, whipped cream, more sweet tea. Post shows, because they were circus performers, would be smoked fish, cold meats, a lot of butter apparently, cheese and beer. Legend has it they also had a health drink, in quotes, which was dark lager mixed with Holland gin, egg yolk, and plenty of sugar. Good but strong drink, they claim, will get you very dizzy if you're not used to it. Wonder why. And bear in mind, there's 3 of them. So take all of those quantities and multiply it by 3. And this is all early 1900s, so old school pre-steroid days. I do believe there is something to be said for eating things as close to its raw form as possible, because capitalism and food, I think, has been a catastrophic disaster for society. And just on a side note as I wrap this all up, my discovery of Mike Mentzer was roughly about the same time I got into politics and philosophy, because Mentzer was a heavy reader of Ayn Rand. His approach to exercise was extremely formulaic, driven by data that you can see. You can really tell the Randian influence in his books. So when I looked him up and I read some of his book, I bought it, and the man's approach was radically different than anything you will find nowadays. Same with Dorian Yates, just blunt, straightforward, no bullshit. And you guys know me by now, I will gravitate towards the outside the conventional thinking because that's where everything cool and unique and interesting is. And I realize this is why they resonated with me, and also why I grabbed Mike's old diet book, is because I can relate with these guys. These guys would work with formulas and principles and actually explain what they did in a manner that made sense. And that really appeals to me, because I'm wired that exact same way. I also like knowing how and why something functions, so when you're stuck, you're not lost, you know what to diagnose. And it took me a while to realize the vast majority of society is not like that. The vast majority of humanity are just drones coming off the assembly line. They have no minds. They just want to be told what to do, and that's all. They have no interest in knowing the how or the why. Just tell me what to do, because thinking hurts my little brain. And that concept of learn so you can apply it for yourself, as far as a business model goes, that is straight up suicide. That's why the fitness and nutrition industry is a scheming shit show full of snake oil, filters, top tips, and secrets of flashy thumbnails of some bin in yoga pants. All kinds of cockamania bullshit that is all designed to entice the consumers with false promises that do nothing but disguise the fact that there is no substitution for dedicated and consistent hard fucking work. If that is not a reality that you wish to accept, then stay chunky, you fat lazy bastard. And that is all for today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.